So big news for Scotland last night. The government announced they will definitely be regulating the short-term let industry in Scotland. And apologies for the evil, corrupt reference to the government's propaganda arm here, the BBC, just simply because it's got a nice picture for the videos and it encapsulates the news story that we are talking about. So I won't go into anything mentioned by the biased BBC because it's nonsense, but what we want to look at is the actual government legislation here. And I've dug deep into this over the last 6 months, and there's lots of reading, lots of advice for hosts and agents and local authorities. So I've looked at this from the local authority point of view and whether we believe this is right or wrong, or it's a good or a bad thing. Not the purpose of this video. I just want to share some of the happenings that will be going on in future. So number one is that this will be launched in October, so 2022. So this year for local authorities to establish a scheme. So this hasn't been concrete in legislation until now, but it has been in the background. There was no doubt that this was going to happen. So hopefully these local authorities have all this in place and they've already been working on it, because it's going to be shambolic to start off with. I don't think anybody's going to dispute that. With the landlord legislation for landlords that come in Scotland, it was troublesome in the start, and the managing agents that are regulated. So that's everything regulated regards letting in Scotland. So rightly or wrongly, I hope these local authorities have this in place. Now, each local authority is going to be doing it different. They may copy each other's framework, but under the legislation, they do have the right to do it differently and charge differently. So we're going to see some massively varying approaches here. For Edinburgh and Glasgow city centre, they'll do everything they can to reject it. Very much so in Edinburgh, it's going to be very, very hard to get licences. Perhaps there's some areas we see they want tourism to thrive, they want to encourage people in, they're not going to make it overly crazy. But things like, we would imagine Edinburgh will take a very, very strict approach to this. Cities where there's people are fighting over affordable housing, etc. So this gives operators from the 1st of April 2023, so just a year and 2 months to actually apply for a licence, and they all need to be in place by July 24. So the 2 years really we have to get these, but we can apply for a licence for next April, and then we've got a year to sort it. This means the local authorities are going to be processing all of these at the same time. So it's not as they come on, they're going to be processing them all. So there will definitely be a backlog. The local authorities under this legislation have the right to set their own fees, so it's not going to be a national thing that's set. And if we get into the bits and pieces, they're giving an average fee indication between 214 and 436. Hands up if you think that it says here is going to be the fees. Hands up if you think any will be at the lower end of this for a 3-year licence. I don't think anybody's got their hand up who thinks it will be a profit maximising exercise for local authorities, and they'll charge as much as they can get away with. And I'm not going to dig deep. There's hours and hours of stuff if you dig deep in the guidance, because I've looked at the guidance for hosts, but also you can find the guidance for local authorities on how they can charge, how they can get the money out of you, what they can charge for, etc. And I'd be pretty certain that it's never going to be anywhere near that level. And this is estimates, it's guidance, but if we're looking at HMO fees and other fees, I suspect every licence is going to be more than 500 quid for a 3-year licence. I'll say that now, and hopefully I'm wrong. But with that, the local authority are going to be able to set the prices, and the guidance within the back end of all this is that they can charge more for the size of properties. So I suspect that licence fee may well be hitting £1,000 per unit if you've got something large. Again, I hope I'm wrong, but I think we'll be right for that. Also, the other fees here. So you might be paying £1,000 or thereabouts for your licence for 3 years, but the local authority also have the power to charge for things like visits. So if they decide to pop out to see you, then they'll charge you for that. So again, an hour's time, writing the report, getting you to do things, the follow-up. I don't know how much that visit would be, but maybe they just decide to visit you 3 times a year, and there's another £500 onto the bill. So that's a great money spinner for local authorities. If you ask a local authority that are all struggling for budgets, they're there to provide services and schools and roads and all these things. We can sit with this pretty much untapped, uncapped profit way to make income. Should we use that or should we not? They're going to be sending people out en masse to inspect all these properties, and I'll tell you why. Neighbours can report to the system, which is fine because neighbours are there, but also guests. Guests can complain to the local authority, and then the local authorities will be almost obliged to look into it. Now, neighbours, totally get that. We get calls from neighbours if there's problems in our units, and we sort them out. But guests will just absolutely abuse this. So again, a guest reporting something dangerous and a host doesn't have electricity or there's no safety checks, totally get that. But guests will be phoning this up for absolutely everything. So local authorities will respond to that and want to come out. And it's people in local authorities. This is a new department, so this hasn't been done before. So it's new people coming in, probably promoted from within. Local authorities will promote their friends, their family, their acquaintances. So not necessarily the right people and the experienced people to be doing this. It'll be people that have been trained from fresh and promoted as a little thank you from someone else. That's how it works in local authorities. Again, please feel free to argue the point if you think that's not the case. But there will be people in here that probably shouldn't be in these positions, and they're going to be interfering with businesses with the remit to pretty much maximise profit and cause maximum interference and maximum damage to businesses to earn the local authority money. That's my take on it. I think it's a pretty reasonable take. I'd love to hear MD's thoughts. So this is the framework of this. There'll be lots more. We'll keep all our clients apprised of what's happening, but that's just definitely coming in. The dates, we do have a few years to sort this. Local authorities will be pushed for time to get this, but they will tell us clearly and concisely and have looked at all this. They need to give us exactly what they want and exactly how we can comply and get those licenses. So the good thing is this will all be clear. It will all be very, very laid out for us. So there'll be no second guessing. It's just down to the people and the local authorities whether they decide, does that fit the local plan and should we give that license? So interesting times, and I look forward to seeing how it develops.